Thank you for tuning in to this week's segment of Planned Parenthood's podcast, Common Sense, the case for comprehensive sex education in Illinois. This is our first podcast in a series that will bring you information and interviews related to the campaign for comprehensive sex education in Illinois. This week we ask, are you aware of the status of sex education in our schools? In Illinois, 37,000 teens become pregnant each year. Additionally, among the states, Illinois is ranked 18th for the highest number of teen pregnancies. Adolescents are also contracting sexually transmitted infections faster than any other age group. Illinois ranks 3rd for the highest rates of chlamydia and gonorrhea infections and 6th for the highest rates of HIV transmission. If we hear these alarming statistics time and time again, why is there so little improvement? I mean, they're teaching sexual health education in schools, right? Well, in reality, it depends. Let's hear from some members of Planned Parenthood's Teen Awareness Group, also known as TAG, who will tell us about the sex education they received in their various high schools.
We just have a typical health class, and it's pretty vague. They talk of STDs and eyes, but it never really explained the ways of contact and how you could contract certain things.
As if of right now, there is no type of sex education available in our school unless Planned Parenthood is invited by teachers of health class or etc.
From what I have picked up from my health class, it's a lot of scare tactics, kind of like don't use a condom or it will break and you will get pregnant, or kind of the whole showing the slideshow thing. It was really scary, so it kind of steered me away from that kind of activity or that kind of education that I wanted to get from that topic.
As evidenced by the TAG members' stories, there is a large discrepancy in the information Illinois teenagers are receiving from their schools. Some teenagers receive no instruction on sexual health, and many are getting incomplete information. Illinois state education regulations do not require the inclusion of sex education within school curriculum. The state allows each school to decide how it chooses or chooses not to educate its students about sexual health. Furthermore, if the school does choose to include sexual education in its curriculum, there are very strict guidelines for how it must be conducted. For example, when teaching sex education in Illinois, it is required to stress abstinence, the negative outcomes of teen sex, and skills about avoiding coercion. But it is not required to give instruction regarding contraceptives or how to communicate about sex. These regulations have resulted in a system in which 40% of the students who are exposed to sexual health education are taught in an abstinence-only curriculum. Here with us again are members of Planned Parenthood's Teen Awareness Group to share their various experiences of the sexual education provided in their high schools.
Well, we are very limited to sexual education in our school. There are certain classes you have to choose to take sexual education. Like, for example, we have a mandatory health class freshman year, which only talks about the STIs that you can get from having sex or unprotected sex, and that only lasts for about 3 to 4 days. And we also have a parenting class, which is optional any your high school years. And that goes over abstinence, which is about a day, and it also talks about birth control and STIs also.
Currently, we have no sex education available at MacArthur High School. I think it has impacted our community by increasing the number of pregnancies going around.
In our school, we have abstinence-based sex education, so it's a step up from abstinence only, but it's not as good as comprehensive. And from what I've heard and from when I took it, people tend to take away the literal aspects of the presentation and not the deeper meanings. So, for example, this week in my school, they're showing the STD slideshow, where they show pictures of people's genitals and the awful STDs that they have. But fear-based tactics like this don't work. Students walk away talking about how gross it is and how awful it is, but then what they don't hear people talking about is what they're going to do to protect themselves from this. And I remember when I see the slideshow and when I think about my future and sex, that's the last thing on my mind.
The TAG members' stories highlight the large discrepancy in the sex education that is being provided to the teenagers of Illinois. This has resulted in a high rate of teen pregnancy and STI transmission. Providing teens and young people with the information they need to make responsible decisions is the common sense solution to reducing unintended teen pregnancy and STI transmission. To get involved in the campaign for comprehensive sex education, follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook. For additional information, please visit Planned Parenthood of Illinois' website at ppiaction.org. To share your own story, send your name, phone number, email address, and story to mystory@ppil.org. Thank you for joining us. Tune in to next week's podcast as we discuss the competence of Illinois' current sex education standards and additional information about the pursuit of comprehensive sex education in Illinois.